What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in to talk about Heresy. I know a lot of players have been sort of in and out of the game over the past few months, but at this point, with Heresy being only a couple of weeks away, we have quite a few more details about what we can expect to see as part of the episode, and the quality of life updates, changes to the existing game content, new rewards and more, which Bungie hope will re-engage players for this upcoming episode. So we're going to break down a bunch of the highlights ahead of the update right here. Let us know what you're looking forward to in this upcoming episode down in the comments, but now let's get into it. And so first up, real quick, alongside Heresy we do get a new dungeon. Of course, the dungeons require the Final Shape dungeon key, so in a way this content launches alongside the episode, but the upcoming dungeon is called Sundered Doctrine and it launches on February 7th. That is of course just a couple of days after the initial launch of the episode, which will be on Tuesday, February 4th. But for the dungeon, Bungie have teased we'll be traveling to Savathun's throne world and infiltrating Rulk's pyramid ship, which thematically is pretty interesting, and it sounds like we might potentially get a more dread-focused dungeon right here. Either way, there'll be a contest mode enabled for 48 hours, as well as a dungeon race, and Bungie even teased a new emblem that players will be able to get by watching the dungeon race on Twitch. Obviously, on that emblem we can see the pyramid ships, and what appears to be a hive worm. Also curious is that there is Mercury architecture in the background there as well, reminiscent of the Season of Arrivals period on Mercury before it was sunsetted. So I'm curious how all of this is going to piece together for the new dungeon, but give us your thoughts below. Otherwise, new content-wise, the Dreadnought will be the location that houses the vast majority of episode content. So we're returning to the Dreadnought in some capacity. As of yet, we're still not certain if this will be an explorable area, or whether there will indeed be an explorable component to the space, or whether it simply houses some of the key activities for the episode. There will be a new Dreadnought-themed set of weapons though, which Bungie have dubbed the Heretical Arsenal, and they've said we'll get official details for this new set of weapons, as well as a preview for all of the Heresy content on the 28th of January, 1 week ahead of the launch. So there will be a developer live stream at 10 AM Pacific time on January 28th. I'll keep you posted about that, but Bungie have said that Heresy will return to having weekly content and story delivery. They add that they understand concerns about a return to this approach, but they're hoping to strike a balance between everything dropping on day one of the act versus meaningful reasons to log in throughout the episode. So the vast majority of activities content will be available on the first day of an act, and then will subsequently evolve based on weekly story. And they've also said that each week will feature a seasonal challenge that rewards a new tier of weapon from the Heretical Arsenal. So that sounds cool, but additionally, Heresy will apparently not rely on the fixed length for each act like previous episodes. So Act 2, for example, will last 3 weeks instead of the standard 5 or 6. And additionally, all reprised weapons for the episode will be available at launch, with the second half of episodic weapons dropping when Act 2 launches. So some interesting changes there, and of course a slightly different approach, so we'll simply have to see how that pans out. Plus, they've said the events of Heresy will close the door on the Light and Darkness saga and act as a prologue for Codename Apollo, where the Guardian's purpose in the next saga starts to take focus. On top of the weapons we discussed though, there will be new armor sets, and we have a Hive-themed Navigator set, as well as an Heiress armor set for all 3 classes coming. So one will probably drop through activities, another for the Season Pass. Plus, of course, we can expect new exotics and a whole bunch of other items. Other reward-style updates though that we'll see include a very significant PvP update, a lot of it focused on trials, where Bungie have shown off new armor that we'll be picking up. Plus on those screens you can see cosmetic items like an emblem, ship and sparrow, which all look pretty interesting. We won't break down all of the playlist changes in this video because they're very significant, but there'll also be major reworks to how Flawless is obtained, easier ways for all players to get to the lighthouse without having completely flawless tickets, more chances at adept weapons, and general quality of life updates aimed at making trials more approachable for more casual players. So if that's of interest and you haven't had those details yet, I'll link a video down below. Otherwise, we'll get a new trial sniper, which will be a solar aggressive sniper rifle called the Keen Thistle. So if you're curious on the perk rolls for that, you can see them on the screen. Additionally, Bungie will bring back the Exalted Truth Hand Cannon, which is a Void adaptive, and there'll be plenty of other incentives to get back into the Crucible between updates to Trials, Iron Banner, which will also receive new rewards, and even competitive PvP, which is getting a new weapon, reworked to the scoring systems, and more. So give us your thoughts about that, and again, additional details on the PvP changes are down below. Next up though, let's speak about abilities. There'll be, once again, a lot of ability tuning for Heresy, but focusing on new abilities. Firstly, Bungie will introduce a new one for arc subclasses called Bolt Charge. So Bolt Charge is a positive stacking buff that you build up on yourself over time, and once you reach the maximum charge, your next ability attack will unleash a devastating bolt of arc lightning. And while you have one or more stacks from any source, which includes aspects, fragments, and weapon perks, dealing damage with any weapon increases your Bolt Charge stack count, and each time a stack is gained, we'll get a chunk of melee energy. Then at 10 stacks, the Bolt Charge is ready, and any ability damage, arc or otherwise, will summon a powerful arc bolt, which deals roughly the same amount of damage as a solar ignition, but with a smaller area of effect. Plus they've said Bolt Charge will be woven into arc and prismatic suites to allow those subclasses to access the new keyword. So that will be an interesting combat component for Heresy, but additionally, there'll be new aspects for each class. So firstly, Hunter Night Stalkers will get on the prowl, and entering invisibility will mark a nearby enemy as a priority target for you and the team, and defeating priority targets creates a weakening cloud of smoke that makes you and allies invisible when passing through it. On top of that, when priority targets are defeated, you and nearby allies gain increased weapon reload speed and stability for a short duration, and are granted grenade, melee, and class ability energy. On top of that, there'll be Storm's Keep for Striker Titans, and we'll be able to cast a class ability to grant a moderate number of Bolt Charge stacks to you and nearby allies, and while behind a barricade, the player and allies will gain stacks of Bolt Charge over time, and any weapon damage will discharge maximum stacks of Bolt Charge. So a potentially more offensive way of using barricade there. Finally though, for Warlocks, there'll be Ionic Sentry, and we could defeat targets with arc abilities or weapons to charge it up, and then when we activate Grenade, it'll deploy a powerful arc turret which blinds on impact, and sends out bolts of lightning that chain to nearby enemies, and grant stacks of Bolt Charge when it defeats enemies. So those elements sound pretty interesting. Of course, these are just the new ability components. On top of that, Bungie are tuning many other existing things. So again, I'll link a more in-depth breakdown of all ability tuning in the description. Next up though, quick quality of life updates as well as weapon adjustments. And for quality of life, Bungie are increasing the strange coins cap up to 199 from 99, so that's basically doubled. And the Osirian Ciphers and Nightfall Ciphers cap will increase from 10 to 30 as well. We'll get plenty more quality of life changes and additional patch notes when we actually get the update. Otherwise, Bungie this week outlined a significant number of changes for weapons, including buffs for many exotics in the game, both weapons and armor, as well as weapon families. So again, because those details are fairly chunky, I'll link a separate video that goes into the specifics for all of the exotic and weapon changes. Separate note here though, DMG did tease there may be some new ornaments for each of the exotic class items coming in Heresy, so that's something to look forward to. And otherwise, they have revealed some new playlist weapons. So the Nightfall is getting a Void rocket assisted frame sidearm called the Lotus Eater, and it'll be able to roll perks like Strategist, Feeding Frenzy, Well-Rounded, Shoot to Loot, Beacon Rounds and Reconstruction, paired up with One for All, High Ground, Reverberation, Frenzy, and Adrenaline Junkie. Plus there are one or two redacted perks on some of these weapons as well. So hopefully that'll be a good one. Otherwise, the Palindrome is coming back as an arc adaptive frame hand cannon, but there'll additionally be a new Strand aggressive rocket launcher for Vanguard Ops, an arc rapid fire glaive for Gambit, which will be called the Backfang. Then Crucible will get the Joxer's Longsword, a Void heavy burst pulse rifle, and this is on top of the addition of new Trials weapons and the various Heresy rewards. So there we go guys, that's a preview of the vast majority of quality of life changes, updates, and non-new content items in terms of Heresy. Like we said, we're going to get all of the information regarding the first act of the episode next week, and a better look at the actual content. So I'll keep you posted on that, keep it locked and loaded on the channel. If you've enjoyed this quick preview though, a rating really does help us out down below. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.